All right, let's try something a little different. We're going to hit the pause button on the world and take a really close look at just 24 hours of news from a single day, April 19th, 2026. So you might be wondering, how much can we really learn from just one day's headlines? Well, it turns out a ton. These stories, they show us the major forces shaping our lives, everything from global power struggles to the deep challenges facing democracies everywhere. So let's dive in with the big picture, the superpower standoffs. First up, let's talk about those superpower standoffs. The global chessboard is always active, and on this day, the move started with a major flashpoint in a really critical part of the world. Okay, so the day's news takes us right into this super tense confrontation in the Strait of Hormuz. On one side, you have President Trump announcing the U.S. military seized an Iranian ship, and on the other, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, is claiming the strait is now back under their strict control. This is like a textbook case of military escalation in one of the planet's most important waterways. So, is there a way out of this? Well, the U.S. was actually getting a delegation ready for potential peace talks over in Pakistan. But, and this is a big but, as of today, Iran's official state media is saying Tehran has no plans to participate. So the big takeaway here is, for now, the military posturing is really the main event. And this kind of tension isn't just in the Middle East. Not at all. Over in Europe, as Russian forces are continuing their assaults, Ukraine's President Zelensky delivered this incredibly stark message. This isn't just him asking for help. No, this is a call for a massive shift in European security, basically telling the continent, you need to build your own defenses and you need to do it now. Now, all this military muscle flexing, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum, right? It's almost always tied to politics. So, for our next section, we're going to shift gears from military power to political power and see how democracies are being put to the test, both from the inside and the outside. And here is just a perfect example of a major democratic challenge: political instability. Get this. Today, Bulgaria held its 8th parliamentary election in just 5 years. 8. I mean, while the exit polls might point to a winner, that one single number tells this powerful story of just deep political deadlock. But then, you look right next door in neighboring Hungary, and it is a completely different story. The results are in, and they are anything but deadlocked. Peter Magyar's Tisza party has just secured a massive 2/3 majority with over 53% of the vote. That's a huge, decisive result that's going to reshape Hungarian politics for years. And then we've got Peru, where the democratic test is really one of patience. The official count for their presidential election is delayed, probably until mid-May. But here's the key detail you need to know. EU observers have already given it the green light, saying the vote itself met all the democratic standards. So the process is slow, but it seems to be working. It's not just about what happens inside a country's borders. This one day also showed some pretty serious friction between some of the world's oldest and closest allies. I mean, check this out. In a remarkably blunt statement, the British Foreign Secretary responded directly to social media posts from President Trump. This quote just lays bare a clear diplomatic rift between the UK and the US. London is basically saying, we're not going to be intimidated by what we see as petty insults. And that friction, it isn't just limited to the UK. In Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made this absolutely stunning declaration, suggesting that his country's deep economic reliance on the U.S. has now become a vulnerability. Wow, that signals a potentially massive pivot in North American trade and a serious rethink of a partnership that's over a century old. Okay, so we've seen the military standoffs and the political fractures. For our final section, let's look at the human cost of all of this, exploring that really difficult line between a fragile peace and enduring violence. This slide right here really captures what fragile peace actually means. Look at Lebanon. There's a 10-day ceasefire, technically holding, but it's being totally undermined by outrage over an Israeli soldier's actions. Then in Gaza, reconstruction is basically stalled, while satellite images are showing new permanent military bases being built. So the official peace is one thing, but the reality on the ground, that's something else entirely. But, it's not all grim. This one day also brought some genuine signs of hope. After some Swiss-mediated talks, the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo and the M23 rebels made some really concrete commitments. And these aren't just empty words. These are specific, actionable steps toward protecting civilians and letting life-saving aid finally get through. And that theme of rebuilding, it echoes in Angola. During a huge mass, Pope Leo delivered this powerful message of reconciliation. He urged a nation that was scarred by a long, terrible civil war to look forward and to actively build hope. It's just such a powerful reminder of the long, hard work that always has to follow a conflict. Now, this is a fascinating story that really shows how interconnected all these conflicts truly are. An arrest at the Los Angeles airport pulls back the curtain on this hidden global network of war. It connects the US, Iran, and the conflict in Sudan, all through one person allegedly brokering a massive sale of drones and ammunition. It's wild. But those hidden networks aren't the only source of violence. A final, just tragic story from this day reminds us that violence isn't always about armies and borders. The news also included a horrific domestic incident in Louisiana, where 8 children were killed. It brings the theme of violence down to its most personal and devastating level. So, what do we see in this one 24-hour snapshot? We see military flashpoints, we see political fractures, and we see these fragile, fragile hopes for peace. We see a world of incredible complexity, tension, and also resilience. And it leaves all of us with one crucial question. If this is what just one day looks like, what does tomorrow hold?